who cares if the camera isn't exactly where it's supposed to be? It kind of, I think, also fits in nicely with the age that we're in with TikTok and social media. And like, it's not, if it's too perfect, it's stale. How can I make a recording that is a little different, but still beautiful from a different perspective? And that's where I think this journalism capturing music is different. So from 12 to 1:30, we might make the most popular video you've ever recorded as a band or in your entire career.
Hola, bienvenidos a todos y a todas. Estamos felices en otro capítulo del podcast de SAE Institute México. Queremos empezar agradeciendo, por supuesto, a todo el equipo de la productora y a SAE Institute México, la presentación de Bob, que en este momento va a ser mi co-conductor.
Hola a todos.
¿Cómo estás, Bob?
Muy bien, muy contento de estar aquí. Mi primer podcast, espero que sean muchos más.
Pues quién sabe, porque igual y Camarillo se nos va a poner celoso de que...
Depende de cómo me porte, prometo portarme bien.
Bueno, Bob de la Peña, él es, si no lo conocen, es director de la carrera de audio aquí en SAE Institute México. Y bueno, también les queríamos recordar en dónde nos pueden ver, dónde nos pueden escuchar. Por supuesto, en la página de SAE Institute México, en Spotify y en nuestras redes sociales, que es Instagram y Twitter, si no mal recuerdo. Y bueno, yo soy la Goye, Ana Paula Goyenechea, y en esta ocasión, la verdad es que tenemos el gran privilegio de tener a unas personas maravillosas que en este momento se van a presentar. Bueno, quiero darles la bienvenida, por supuesto, a Francesca y a Josh.
Hola.
Josh, el programa va a ser en español. ¿Listo?
Mi español es muy caca, lo siento.
Exacto. Está increíble, no pasa nada. No, por supuesto vamos a hablar en inglés, pero si ustedes en algún momento tienen alguna pregunta en español o en inglés, lo podemos ahí traducir. Y bueno, pues empezamos. Lo que siempre digo es que es mucho más interesante que se presenten directamente ustedes y no leer una biografía. Entonces, who wants to begin? ¿Francesca o Josh?
Introduce yourself first.
Hello, my name.
Who are you, Josh?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Josh Rogosin, and I am an audio journalist. I think that's how I would categorize myself. I like capturing music in real places, in real spaces, to learn about culture and people.
That's amazing. Where do you come from, Josh?
I was born in Los Angeles, California, many years ago.
We don't want to know.
But then we moved to the East Coast of the United States in New England, and around an hour north of Boston, there's a town called Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So I spent a lot of time growing up in Portsmouth and performing in rock and roll musicals. My mom was an original Mouseketeer in the 1950s for Walt Disney, and my dad conducted for Johnny Mathis and a number of other musical theater compositions that he created. So there was always music around the house.
Music and theater, right?
Music and theater.
That's amazing. Well, welcome to SAE Institute, Josh. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you.
And Francesca.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Muchas gracias por tenernos aquí. Yo me llamo Francesca Ticchione, soy chilena, nací en el norte, en el desierto de Atacama, muy orgullosa. Soy bailarina, dentista y últimamente camarógrafa y productora de visual. Me mudé a Estados Unidos hace 6 años, después de estar viviendo en el desierto de Atacama, en Santiago, en la capital de Chile, cuando estuve estudiando allá en la universidad. Y bueno, ahora estamos hace un año con mi pololo,
¿Qué traducción?
con mi novio, viajando por el mundo en nuestro proyecto. Y bueno, ahí le vamos a hablar un poquito más de eso después.
Pues justamente creo que es importantísimo que nos empiecen a contar un poco acerca de este proyecto, about this project that you are very excited and we are as well.
Nice.
And it's called Global Sound Concerts. So how did this begin, this idea about doing a global concert? How did you plan it?
I really got inspired during the pandemic. You know, I worked at Tiny Desk for 10 years, and maybe 2 of those years was during the pandemic. And all of these incredible musicians were submitting their Tiny Desk concerts remotely because no one could travel. So C. Tangana, their Tiny Desk concert was incredible from home. And also I loved Mon Laferte. Her Tiny Desk concert from home was stunning in this church, and she's 9 months pregnant. And I thought, wow, this is so cool to kind of see Tiny Desk in reverse instead of all the musicians coming to one place. Isn't it cool to actually travel to all of these different locations all over the world to hear music, but recorded in the way that I created as an audio journalist, how I created the Tiny Desk sound to capture things without in-ear monitors, without a PA system, having musicians really listen to each other in a different kind of way to create a different kind of content, a different kind of art for their audience. And that's why I loved doing Tiny Desk for all those years. And that's why I'm super excited to be in this next chapter where I can challenge myself with this new project, Global Sound Concerts.
That's amazing. And of course that it gives you the excuse about traveling wherever you want to go.
Yes, I was chained to a desk for 10 years, so now I get to travel. No, I'm just kidding.
No, of course. but that's amazing. And of course you're meeting a lot of new artists and
Yes.
discovering and giving them as well a platform, right?
Correct.
To let them show their music. So have you met like a special one, a special group that you like and that you really appreciate?
Yes, it's been incredible. Actually, exactly a year ago, here in Mexico City, in Ciudad de Mexico, we traveled to the Parque de Coatzacoalcos and recorded the music of André Beltran. And I was very fortunate that I had a friend. My parents live in Baja, in Todos Santos, and someone saw an Instagram post saying, "Oh my gosh, you're Josh Rogosin and you're in Baja. What are you doing here? Come to El Ganzo. We have a hotel in San Jose, and in the basement of the hotel, we call it the beating heart of the hotel, is a recording studio." So my dear friend, Rodrigo, he invited me to go to El Ganzo. And then I said, well, I'm going to Ciudad de Mexico because I want to go to Soundcheck Expo and do some networking and hang out with all the incredible people there. And I said, but I want to record this crazy idea I have for a new show. It's sort of like Tiny Desk in reverse, called Global Sound Concerts. Do you have any contacts in Mexico City? So I'm from Mexico City. Let me ask around. Let's see who's available. And he luckily ended up with André Beltran. And then I was also asking some friends in San Jose del Cabo, where should I record in Mexico City? And I explained, I want something that maybe not everyone knows. Like maybe we don't do it in the big square underneath the gigantic Mexican flag. Maybe we do it in a place that some people know, but it's just so dramatically, quintessentially Mexico City. And as luck would have it, the Parque de Coatzacoalcos, André Beltran had a friend who was a photographer there who could get us access. So it all sort of magically coordinated into this very special moment. And that was really the first Global Sound concert we ever recorded. And his music with his colleague or his compadre, El Mulu from Chile, as
That's a
chance
sign.
would have it.
That's one of the signs you have to look for, right?
Exactly. They played this beautiful set. So
Yeah.
go to Global Sound Concerts YouTube page and you can see it there. It was just like, I called it the hidden gem of Mexico City, meaning André Beltran is a hidden gem because it's so important to me that this project is about artists and music discovery, which is really how Tiny Desk began. And now, of course, it's turned into this massive juggernaut where everybody who's super famous wants to cram as many musicians behind the desk. And it's still incredible and wonderful. But I feel like really passionate about kind of getting back to Tiny Desk roots, which is really about music discovery and giving a platform and a voice to artists who wouldn't necessarily have one. And especially artists who can't travel to the United States or be a part of the Tiny Desk, get on the radar of the producers. It's so competitive to get on the show. So I love this opportunity of creating a contest, finding talented musicians from the place that we're visiting, getting some, excitement around, sharing your art in a 1-minute Instagram post with the hashtag Global Sound CDMX. And, Sai was kind enough to share the post with me, like collaborate on the post. And last I checked, it had 120,000 views and 6,000 likes and 3,000 shares. And I just love that it created this little community of, hey, what are other musicians doing in and around Mexico City? What are they up to? And I really love the camaraderie that creates with this project.
And it seemed to me that it didn't have like a specific process, right? When we were talking about this, it wasn't like he had a formula like, oh, we should do this and that, right? It was like, let's see what happens. Like we've done this in the past and it has worked, so might as well do it again. But I saw in a previous interview that you had with NPR, actually, people from NPR, that at some point, the cool thing about NPR that maybe led to the Tiny Desk sessions is that it's allowed to for crazy things to happen.
That's right.
Right? And so maybe this is a sort of a back to the basics.
I think that's
right?
true. I think I anytime I plan, I'm being a good producer and a good audio engineer is all about, being flexible and changing and pivoting in the moment. And I always say, if Bob Boylan, whose desk it is, although he no longer works at NPR either, if he had asked permission to the powers that be at NPR, hey, I want to have musicians come and play at my desk, the answer would have been no. So he didn't ask permission. He's just a visionary who has an idea and just says, let's execute that idea. They were at South by Southwest. Laura Gibson was playing her song. They couldn't hear her. Stephen Thompson and Bob Boylan went up to her after the performance. Says, I think it was good, but it was hard to hear you over March Madness celebrations with the basketball game on behind you. As a joke, Stephen said, well, next time you're in Washington, why don't you come and play at our desks? And she said, okay. And she called them up. I'm in Washington. When's my concert at your desk? And Bob said, okay, I guess we should get out a couple cameras and a microphone. And it was recorded with one mic,
Which is that's amazing because it's how music works in some sense. Like we have to have like this balance, right, between chaos and order, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to
what
put it,
happened
Bob.
in the last two sessions that we had here at SAE.
Oh my God!
Like
yes.
I didn't know, for example, which instruments the musicians were going to come with, or what they were going to sing or something. I was like, this is like the Tiny Desk way. I mean, this is in good hands. Let's just go. Like whatever happens. To give some context, it's really liberating to be free of a PA system and a monitor because you have all of this interference or like bleed that causes feedback and all those nasty things that distract the session. So it's liberating in that sense. You don't even have a computer, right? You have like this on board, dedicated hardware.
That's
for
exactly
that.
right. I just use dedicated field recorders that they use like to film documentaries or movies. It's just a small little recorder. And again, I'm sort of going back to the beginning of Tiny Desks, really limiting, limitation can really be the influence of creativity. Right? So I limit myself. I have got a full band of 6 musicians here or 5 musicians here with all kinds of drums and all kinds of things. You can go overboard. We're going to need 48 channels for this. And you could absolutely spend, a lot of times hooking up 24, 48 channels to record a 5-piece band. But I decide to limit myself to 8 channels because that's how many channels fit in this particular recorder I have. And then I also use this ambisonic mic, which here at Campus 2 at Sci is this big, beautiful courtyard with some really interesting resonance to it. There's some echo, but the ceiling is open, so it's not so reverberant that you can't use it. It has a really nice sound. So I brought along an ambisonic mic, which picks up in 360. It's basically 4 capsules.
That's what I wanted to know.
Like a 360 picture of the sound of the
because I don't know
place.
what it is.
Yeah, so what I could use that as sort of as a room mic to pick up the natural reverb of the room. What did it sound like just to be in that spot? And then I add that, I use the individual 8 channels in my field recorder from Sound Devices to sort of supplement that ambient recording. And that's really the same exact concept of Tiny Desk, where, I traveled the world with National Geographic and radio expeditions, telling stories through sound, capturing voodoo rituals and festivals in West Africa, and traveling into Cambodia to do a story about a giant freshwater catfish that lived in the Mekong River, going out with the fishermen at 3 in the morning, and also doing a story in Athens, Greece, around the 2004 Summer Olympics. So all these different field sound gathering techniques that I would use to tell documentary stories on the radio with National Geographic, whether it's MS Stereo or ORTF or spaced omnis or binaural, all those different techniques that we learn at institutions like Sci. I assume you guys still teach that. It's been a
No, we
while.
just teach like plain old
The
techniques.
basics.
Yeah, just missionary style microphone techniques.
So all those techniques that I would use to tell stories through sound, I would then apply to recording music. And that's actually a much different way to think about capturing a band than in a recording studio.
Yeah. And also you capture the essence of the artist as well. Like you show it like really human, like very humilde, humble, like very humble, right?
Yeah.
And I think also is what you're trying to recreate with
Yes.
this new project. I mean, of course they are talented, but as well they are human. So they can be it's reachable.
They,
No?
exactly. Like they make
What do you
the
think
project
about it?
makes it more humans, and it's a way to connect with them.
Yeah.
Right? When we see them so famous or on TV or in any, platform that they are shown, and like you think it's like a different level, and we're trying, to just reconnect.
Of course.
That's right, like removing like the mic stands. Like what I love to do is have
Musicians share a mic. So for an example from yesterday when we recorded a Spanglish at Campus 2, I could have set up 2 separate microphones because one of the guy playing ukulele also sang. But instead I said, why don't you guys get together and share the same mic? And part of that is sort of to create that camaraderie of like, hey, we're just doing something casual here, and it's sort of like old-timey radio when there's one mic and 3 people singing around one microphone. I kind of love that aesthetic and the vibe that it creates, but it also removes some furniture, right? I don't really like seeing microphone stands and anything that I can get rid of, whether it's a PA system or headphones or a microphone right in front of someone's face. I like the microphone to be down here. Notice the mic here today for the podcast, it's down here so that the camera can see this when I talk. And I think that's super important to sort of remove the layer of technology between the musician and the audience. And I think what Francesca is doing with her videotaping, she uses a little DJI Pocket 3 for now until we get past this piloting phase and we get a real crew. But it's incredible because it has the built-in gimbal, and I love the perspective of just one shot.
Yeah, so what we do actually, well, we were talking about, trying to connect with the audience, and that's why we don't choose to have a stage. We're all at the same level as well, and the audience is smaller than in a concert, so we can actually be connecting, looking at each other in the same space. And about the camera, so I'm a very curious spectator.
Yeah.
That's how you say it?
Yeah, spectator. You're like a Mariposa.
So exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm flying around. That's
Yeah,
how Josh
actually,
does
yeah.
it.
That's what I say,
I'm
and that's when I
flying
say
around.
yeah.
You're
And-
in everywhere
And
at the
that's
same
the
time.
thing, because you as a person in the audience, you do different things. You are not just static watching one thing. Sometimes, so that's why I like calling myself very curious, because I get very close, and sometimes I'm not on the singer, but in a different musician, not on his or her face, but in the instrument. And we had that in one of our recordings with these pan flutes, zampoñas. So I just wanted to see the lips on the holes, and like there's some speed there, but I just wanted to know that. Sometimes I'm just kidding, because we add the background. So all the landscape is very important for our show. That's another thing we'll talk about. And sometimes I'm just going away just to see the ceiling or something else.
That's right.
Like not just the band.
It gives all the perspective, and also again I think it humanizes, right? Because maybe when we go to a concert, you hear everything perfectly. But maybe in this concert, there's like a note, but like it wasn't wrong.
And we
I don't know, or something like that.
allow that to happen.
Yeah.
We don't want to correct that.
Of course.
You know, and what you say, the echo, if it's too echoey, the space, we just keep it the way it is, because we want people to go after to see, oh, where was this recorded? And then they can really, if they are talking, they, you know, see the same, I mean, they listen or they feel the same vibe.
Yeah.
Than in our recording.
And after recording these episodes, have like younger students or younger musicians get involved with you? I mean,
Yeah, there's been a lot of like people message me on Instagram, direct message either the Global Sound Concerts Instagram page or at Josh Rogosin Instagram page saying, hey, I see you're going to be in Mexico City. Can I come and help you? Come assist? Can I do something with you? Or when we went to Chile, it was incredible. There was my friend Vicente, who helped me get the word out about the contest. He was unable to make some of the recordings, so he asked his friend Joaquin, hey, can you come and help Josh? And we worked wonderfully together. And Joaquin said, actually, I have a photographer who's excellent, and he would love to come and shoot some too. Would that be okay? I said, yeah, have him along. So he shot all these beautiful photographs as we were shooting everything. And it's so wonderful that everyone just wants to get involved. It's not really about money, at least not yet. It's all about, you know, I mean, yeah, it's hard to make money in the music industry. Very difficult. Even Tiny Desk never made any money because, I mean, now they're starting to franchise. They get some sponsors, but they don't make any money from YouTube views because all of that belongs to the musicians, the artists. So it's very interesting. And I think that, you know, everything that we're doing to capture a place. Chachahila, one of the musicians from Chile, that they play the Samponia. And what's cool about that is there's these two like bass pipe flutes, but the scale runs across two instruments. So the two musicians are actually playing alternate notes. It's a da 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 da, and very fast. So the musicians have to be completely in a mind meld with each other. So to be able to show that in this traditional structure that is from the north of Chile, we luckily in Santiago found this beautiful park that sort of represents, you know, Easter Island is one of the places, Rapa Nui, and, you know, Atacama, the style of house that's there. So we actually brought these musicians who are from the north in their traditional structure to play their music. And it was unbelievably emotional and impactful and stunning. And I can't wait for everyone to see that one. And of course, Andre Beltran that we talked about here in Mexico City. And then in Chezdana, who we just did in Guadalajara, overlooking this stunning ravine in Guadalajara. And there's a moment when Francesca, she's filming, and what she has to do as the videographer, she has to sort of learn the song, right? So that she knows where she should be when, because it's one shot. And I love that it's one shot because that means it's like very authentic. There's no editing involved. There's no way to trick it. There's no overdubbing. There's no auto-tune. But of course, there's dramatic level writing. There's lots of EQ and compression and that kind of thing. And then the ambisonic mic adds the natural nature of the birds chirping in the background and what does it sound like to really be there. But there was a moment when Francesca's filming and then Chezdana's singing, and then she knows that there's a guitar solo right after. So you see her singing, and then she goes straight to the guitar solo, and it's just like, and the beautiful mountains in the background, and it sort of just lends itself to this really special moment.
They find that's what I saw like in these two workshops. They find like little stories everywhere. Like they come with their gear, and then the artist comes, but then we all start talking, and then comes a sound check and rehearsal, right? And in that time, like that's where you connect. I don't know if you guys like notice or do it on purpose, but there's like some openness to you and the way you work and stuff that just helps people like connect. For example, just two guys just started dancing, right?
Yes.
And at some point it was like, that's one of the stories we have to see.
Right, and then that happened completely organically,
Yeah.
naturally.
And
is that during the last song of Spanglish yesterday at Campus 2, there's a couple who just started dancing because the music was so wonderful. And so after that take, I went up to mi Lola
And was like,
and I said,
I need to learn how to
Francesca,
dance. And then after that,
if there's any way we could maybe include the dancers as part of the recording. And then another spontaneous moment is the audience started clapping along to the song, and it sort of added like, oh. And what happens is like when having an audience for either Tiny Desk or when I was doing musical theater my whole life growing up, and now with Global Sound Concerts, having an audience, even if it's 4 people, is such an important component to what I'm trying to create, because it's really about capturing a real moment in time that isn't just for the camera. It's for the people in this room.
Yeah. So we try to avoid, the musicians or the singer just to be watching at the camera, because we want to be like
butterfly, you said it, like
exactly.
a butterfly that's just happening to be around there.
That's exactly. That's we want to show someone that's outside the space the connection and what happened there at that instant.
Yeah.
And with the errors and mistakes that that are proper.
That's right. Life is imperfect. So capturing something with a little bit of nuance that, hey, maybe that note was slightly off, or maybe that drum beat didn't come in right at the exact moment it needed to. So it's okay to embrace some of the imperfection. That's part of also what humanizes it. And that's also what's very special about Tiny Desk too.
Sounds amazing. I mean, I'm really jealous. I want to travel with them.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
We can carry your gear.
We could use your help. Trust me.
Stuff.
Do that?
Right now,
Right?
It's the 2 of us with a dream, and that's it.
And
This
it's
is the
passion
team.
as well. I'm also very interested about you, Francesca, and I'm gonna make this question in Spanish. Justo, yo sé que Chile es un país muy musical, ¿no? Y me gustaría como saber si tu familia, si tú creciste también dentro de un ambiente familiar que tuviera mucha influencia en la música. Platícanos un poco cómo fue tu crianza, ¿sí?
¿De dónde salió la música?
¿De dónde salió la música? Yo crecí en una casa en donde mi abuela cantaba todos los días boleros y vals, que son basados en la época de oro de esos compositores. Así que ella todos los días a capela en la casa, y era una mujer muy optimista. Mi abuelo, por otro lado, tocaba los discos. Y después de eso, mi hermano comenzó a tocar la guitarra. Él se autoenseñó, una persona muy habilosa. Y yo le hacía la dupla, le hacía el canto, que él no canta muy bien.
¿Tú no cantas muy bien o él no?
Yo
Ok.
tampoco canto muy bien, pero mejor que
Pero eso no va bonito.
Otra de las cosas es que, siendo yo nortina, nosotros tuvimos una de las bandas famosas de los 70 y 80, los Iyapu.
Okay.
Eran ellos vecinos de mi mamá en esos tiempos cuando ella era adolescente. Y la gente del norte está muy influenciada con la música. Nosotros estamos en una ubicación que pertenecía a Bolivia anteriormente. Entonces, pueblos andinos como los Aymará, está muy acentuada su música, se ven muchas presentaciones artísticas de ellos, y la gente del norte es muy orgullosa. Es súper del norte eso, pero yo sé que se tomó ese estilo musical para representar un movimiento más socialista, más humano, más de apoyo a la comunidad, a los trabajadores. Y entonces muchos otros artistas de otras partes del país que no son justamente del norte, ellos adquirieron este estilo para poder representar sus pensamientos a través de este género musical.
¿Y esto te inspiró justamente para hacer lo que estás haciendo hoy en día con Josh? O sea, este background te ha servido para justamente recalcar o remarcar lo que están haciendo.
Lo que estamos haciendo, la verdad es que en cierta parte sí, porque incluso sin pensarlo, porque todo lo que ha pasado entre nosotros y en general lo que ha pasado en las vidas de cada uno antes de que nos conociéramos, Es muy espontáneo y nosotros somos las dos personas que nos dejamos llevar mucho por la situación y no estamos tanto cuestionando, debiera tomar esta oportunidad, debiera, sino que más cómo me siento en el momento en que estoy con los elementos y oportunidades que tengo y decirle sí a todo y avanzar. Entonces, claro, cuando yo era niña, cuando crecí con la música desde mi familia, y después la danza, que la danza no la puede realizar si no hay música. Después de todo eso, cuando ya con Josh nos conocimos y él me...
¿Cómo se conocieron? ¿Podemos
¿Cómo nos
saber?
conocimos?
Ya salió el chisme.
Bueno, pero
Bueno.
para terminar la idea, entonces cuando nosotros nos conocimos y él me plantea esta idea, y algo muy particular que me gusta recalcarlo porque es también una característica de los dos, que los dos compartimos, es que... You want to say that part? You're not understanding.
Just go with it.
Let's go.
Embrace
Of
chaos.
course-
We've been talking
after
about this.
watching this, it's
Yeah,
amazing
you're good,
because
you're good.
just stared at Francesca like, what do I have to say?
Yeah. is that I'm gonna switch to English so I can, integrate
Yes,
my
please.
pololo.
Face of confusion right there.
That's right. So this feature that we both share is that we are kind of creative and we are not like that technical. And so exactly, so like I didn't have a background as a videographer, but I was a dancer, so I can memorize a song just by listening to it once. And also, for me, it's like a choreography, es un baile, una coreografía. So if he is playing or she's playing and he's having a solo and then she's singing, so I can memorize that as a dance. That's how I get it into my system, not as a videographer, but as a dancer, right? And then I'm moving along with the rhythm of the music. So then maybe you can tell that maybe looks okay or looks nice, but probably it's because I'm moving the camera, like if I am dancing.
Yeah.
And Josh, on his side, he has all this background as a journalist. So he also captures and mixes and everything, the music, not as an audio engineer, but as a journalist.
That's right. And it's interesting because, long before I even wanted Francesca to be filming any of this, I had the idea to have it just be one shot floating around. And I got very fortunate that she was very skilled at learning the song so that she knew where to be when and incorporate things really sort of naturally and spontaneously. So the video that actually inspired me to do the one shot was there's a music band called Wolfpack, which I'm sure many people have heard of, and they do a concert from Madison Square Garden. I think it's 3 hours long. It is one camera on stage floating around all the musicians. So if you go back and you watch that Wolfpack video from Madison Square Garden, you'll see the inspiration that I had. Like, I think this is way more interesting to watch than, no offense, 3 cameras cutting between the other. And I find that kind of formulaic and boring. And who cares if the camera isn't exactly where it's supposed to be? It kind of, I think, also fits in nicely with the age that we're in with TikTok and social media. And it's not, if it's too perfect, it's stale. And there's something about, something on the fly that feels much more authentic and interesting to watch than something that's edited perfectly.
And it's, I had this question in my mind since the start of this. Like, have you ever witnessed with all of, how many sessions? Like 800, 1,000 sessions?
Yeah, I recorded about 800 Tiny Desk concerts.
So in any of these sessions, have you seen someone like so stripped down that some part of they like revealed that didn't happen in live sessions? Like, this is interesting because we have so many processes and there's like this obsession, especially with students, to use all the tools you have.
That's right.
Right. So
I
this
need
is like a
all these external preamps or it's not going to sound good. Or I loved recording bands that were completely untraditional instruments. There's a band called Co, and they were from Africa, and I think all of their instruments were made out of found objects and garbage, literally. And I'm like, what is this instrument?
Where does the mic go on the trash
I
bag,
guess
right?
so. My
What
philosophy,
sort of mic do I use?
exactly. Does it need a dynamic or a condenser? So my philosophy was always just go up to the instrument, move my head around as they're playing it,
Yeah.
and replace my ear with a microphone where I thought it sounded good. And that was my same philosophy recording Yo-Yo Ma and his $20 million cello. I just literally got on my knees and sort of scuttled around his cello because I didn't want to record it far away with lots of reverb like you've heard it a million times. I was much more interested in recording his cello in the most guttural, visceral way possible. So I put my ear right where the bow is rubbing against the strings, and it was like, and it was like really gritty, and I didn't want it to necessarily sound pretty because I've heard Yo-Yo Ma's cello sound that way 100 times. How can I make a recording that is a little different but still beautiful from a different perspective? And that's where I think this journalism capturing music is different, and I don't really follow the philosophy of an in-studio recording engineer, even though I have so much respect for engineers that record 100 takes of a vocal and comp one sentence from 100 takes to make the perfect, most beautiful vocal take. That's just not my style of recording. I'm much more interested in capturing a moment in time, as if all these musicians are seated around a campfire or in their hotel room or on their tour bus just jamming.
And has anyone like really changed? Like when you told them like, no, this is not gonna be produced like this, or that effect cannot play, or whatever. Has anyone like really changed their face, their style, their mood, their attitude?
Yes. Oh my gosh. There's a tiny desk from Wolf Alice, and they're a
I
band
love
from
her.
England. Amazing. And if you listen to their recordings, it is like pretty hard rock, leaning heavy metal, loud. They came to the tiny desk. They were so shy. And they played all the same songs in a completely acoustic,
No
alternate
false pedals, no distortion, no loud drums.
And I was a little nervous before they came. I'm like, how are they going to hear each other? Like when Idols came, for example. That's another story. But go back and listen to the Wolf Alice Tiny Desk, and it is so beautiful and acoustic and organic. They completely changed their style for the format. So and they kind of understood the assignment, I guess. When Idols showed up, Joe, I think he's the lead singer, he came in and said, we can't possibly do this. There's no monitors. There's no PA. It's going to lose all of its energy. Have you guys ever heard what we do? We're punk rock. This is impossible. Impossible.
But they were in the studio already.
They were at the Tiny Desk, ready to do their concert.
Okay.
I think their booker or their manager or whomever, their agent said, if you guys don't do this, you're completely morons. You have to do Tiny
But I
Desk."
mean, do they rehearse or it's just one shot?
we do a run through.
Okay.
Early days, I would basically just have them do the first minute of each song and then go back. We invite a small audience in, and then we play the concert. So band arrives at, say, noon. They pull out instruments and make noise until 12:45 with a minute of each song. We film at 1, and they're out the door at 1:30. So from 12 to 1:30, we might make the most popular video you've ever recorded as a band or in your entire career. So that's kind of crazy. And all this stuff we didn't realize that Idols would do well. There were barely any audience members in the room. And that video just gives me so much happiness because they were just like, no, we can't do it. There's no way we're going to be able to do it. And if you watch it and you listen to it, even though it was completely acoustic and stripped down with no PA and no monitors, the energy and the sound is there. It's nuts. Yeah. And it ended up being, I think, one of the pieces of promo, I guess is kind of what you could call it, that completely catapulted their career.
That's well, congratulations, because what you do is amazing. What you did for Tiny Desk, you show like a different way to share music, and of course for artists as well to perform, right? And what you're doing, your project is amazing. So congratulations, and we hope to see you to see a lot of new groups, a lot of new countries and villages.
Yes.
And how can we support you? I mean, I know that you have like a website, and how can we support you?
Right. So globalsoundconcerts.com, and of course our YouTube page at Global Sound Concerts, and then of course on Instagram at Global Sound Concerts and at Josh Rogosin. That's my personal account. But really, you guys are supporting us by having us here and paying it forward to the students at SCI. I don't think you realize how incredibly important and heartwarming it is to me to be able to spend time with students and inspire them to maybe think a little bit differently about their career trajectory or about how they should record some music. That's right. And how, like, say yes to everything. If there's one bit of advice that I have for you students out
Exactly.
there, record stuff that you don't think is important. I used to record congressional hearings for transcription purposes, and the audio would go nowhere. And it was just so someone could type out what the Congress people were saying. But I said yes to that job because it had an XLR cable. I plugged it into a mult box. I hit record on a cassette deck that I would record over and over again on the same tape. And to me, that was an audio gig, because every gig that I've done in the past leads up to what I'm doing now. I could never have done Tiny Desk if I didn't do field recordings as a documentarian. I could never have done field recordings if I hadn't started in musical theater, learning how to record and also learning about harmony and all of that stuff. I could never be doing Global Sound Concerts without everything that came before it. So I spent 15 years as an audio journalist not recording music. So if you think you're going to graduate from SCI and get a job recording music right out of school, maybe no. Maybe you'll follow my path. You won't record music for the first 15 years of your career. And then by just circumstance and luck, you get handed the keys to the most important music show in the world.
Wow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Josh, for bringing a very honest, brutally honest music into an era of like AI and stuff.
Yes, that's
like,
right.
Like we have like this sort of return to origin, I guess.
I think there's going to be
Right.
a thirst for that as all this
Exactly.
AI stuff is growing. I think, why is Tiny Desk so successful?
Because we're seeing the artist as is, right? And there's so much value in that, on someone just pushing buttons or plucking a guitar, bare bones. Like,
And there are plenty of
beautiful.
artists who had been working with about coming to do a concert like Global Sound Concerts or Tiny Desk, very famous artists. And to their credit, they said, you know what? That's not our style. We do overdub. We need backing tracks. We do auto-tune. And I have so much respect for them and their art that, hey, it's not for them. So it's not a requirement to do a Global Sound Concert. But, if it resonates with you, this kind of performing, I can't wait to get out to all these different countries, share the culture and the music of these places through this incredible platform. It's like, I have to pinch myself. I can't even believe it's real.
It's gonna get huge, man. This is gonna be awesome.
And of course, we'll support you. And thank you again for being here. Thank you, Francesca, because gracias a ti también existe, ¿no?
Sí.
Global Sound Concerts. Entonces, ya no nos contaron cómo se conocieron.
How do we meet, honey, next time?
para una cápsula.
No, para otra cápsula.
Escondida.
Pero muchísimas gracias, porque creo que es ultra inspirador lo que están diciendo. Creo que regresar al origen es algo que necesitamos y que los invitamos justamente a que lo hagan. Por supuesto, sigan lo que están haciendo Francesca y Josh. Y pues nada, ¿no? Inspírense.
Inspírense, ¿no? Encuentren, ¿no? Sigan el flujo, ¿no?
Digan sí a todo.
Díganle que sí a todo. Se los he dicho ya varias veces a los estudiantes que nos estén viendo. Encuentren su camino, persistan, sean muy necios y pues miren, ¿no? Salen cosas geniales. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Francesca, ¿dónde te podemos seguir? ¿Nos quieres compartir tus redes sociales?
Sí, bueno, nosotros tenemos el Global Sound Concert, que nos pueden conectar en Instagram. También en YouTube pueden seguir a Josh Rogosin en Instagram también. Contestamos todas las preguntas. La verdad es que Yo tengo mi Instagram, que es mi nombre y mi apellido, pero más ocupamos el de Josh y el de Global Sound Concert, los dos, que los tenemos abiertos en los computadores. Así que si alguien necesita alguna sugerencia, necesita contactarnos para algún trabajo.
O si conocen alguna banda,
Sí,
igual también puede ser buena idea.
exactamente, y una última cosita es que voy a dejarlos invitados para que estén sintonizados y siguiendo nuestros pasos. Vamos evolucionando nosotros todo el tiempo con lo que vamos haciendo, pero estamos en conversaciones con varios países en Europa, también en China, estuvimos ya en Australia y vamos a volver después a Latinoamérica. México es muy grande y nos encanta. Tenemos Los Cabos, Ciudad de México, Guadalajara, y vamos a ir también a otros lugares con nuestras competencias para que la gente se motive y participe.
Claro, pues así será.
Vamos a llegar a todos lados.
Estén pendientes, ¿no? Para cuando regresen, ¿no? Les vamos a apoyar obviamente con esa difusión para que nueva música no sea capturada de esta forma tan honesta. Nada, creo que no queda más que decir que muchísimas gracias, sigan haciendo lo que hacen, síganos abriendo la puerta a muchísima de esta música nueva y pues un gustazo, aquí tienen su casa.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Absolutely.
All right, Josh?
Sounds good. And if you need a dentist, by the way.
Dentistas también, sigan
Muchísimas
la cuenta.
gracias en este episodio del podcast de SAE Institute. Gracias a la productora. Gracias, Bob. Gracias, Josh.
Thank you so
Gracias,
much for
Josh.
having
Gracias a
us.
ustedes.
Thank you,
Yo
Bob.
soy
Thank
la
you,
Goye.
Norbert.
Nos pueden escuchar
Norberto.
y ver en nuestras redes sociales. Hasta la próxima.
Bye.